Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Ceres Podcast. In today's episode of the Past Masters, Mark Petrou is joined by a special guest and dear friend of mine, Andrew Thrasyvoulou, the former owner of Brownsover Fish Bar in Rugby. Andrew's shop won the prestigious Seafish Fish and Chip Shop of the Year award in 2002. When Mark mentioned that he'd be interviewing Andrew for the Past Masters series, I was absolutely thrilled. Andrew has been a steadfast supporter of everything we've done at Ceres and a personal friend of mine for years. Let me take you back to the year 2002 when I just passed my driver's test. And on a whim, well, it wasn't really on a whim, I was panicking before I called him. I called Andrew to see if I could visit his shop. I'd been working for my dad for a couple of years. I'd just sort of left school and I wanted to go out and see other shops. And he just said, yeah, come. I thought he might have taken pity on me. But as you'll hear in the episode, Andrew is a genuine gentleman, true to his word always. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by the Ceres Orange Chipping Basket. Discover our 44-litre orange chipping basket, crafted from durable, injection-moulded orange HDPE. This food-safe basket is perfect for preparing and de-starching chips efficiently whilst conserving water. Its sturdy yet lightweight construction, along with high durability nylon handles, ensures a reliable grip, making it an essential tool for any fish and chip shop. And by using the orange basket, you significantly reduce your water usage and your antioxidant formula usage. And we all know that making great homemade chips from natural potatoes requires a lot of water, so why not use a little less? Visit www.ceres.shop for next day free mainland UK delivery. To stay updated with everything we're doing at Ceres, follow us on social media and join our mailing list for direct updates to your inbox. You'll find the link in the episode show notes. Also, why not join the conversation on the Ceres Podcast discussion group on Facebook? If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in the fish and chip industry. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that really helps us out for discovery. Now, let's dive into today's episode of the Past Masters with Mark Petrou and Andrew Thrasyvoulou.
I'm here with Andrew Thrasyvoulou, the 15th winner of Fish and Chip Shop of the Year. He won it in 2002 with the Brownsover Fish and Chip Shop in Rugby. And this, for me, is a real pleasure because I've never told you this before, Andrew. I know we've been friends a long time, but you are the reason I won Fish and Chip Shop of the Year, because the first time we actually met face to face was on a staircase at the awards. You'd already won it, and I collared you. I absolutely nabbed you and caught you off guard, and I said, "What does it take to win?"
I remember.
And because you were the first Greek Cypriot to climb to the top of the mountain, to carry the Cypriot flag all the way to the top, and I looked up to you so much, and I remember the words you told me. You said to me, leave it all in the room, but don't overthink it. Don't make your presentation too fancy. Take a couple of photos and speak from the heart. Give them your passion. And I never forgot that. And that's what I did. When I went into the room in 2006, I did exactly what you told me to do. And
stayed humble.
Yeah, always. And so, welcome. Well, I've already spoken far more than I wanted to. I want to let you speak. I wanted to give you the introduction you deserved.
Thank you very much, Mark, for that intro. I do remember that day.
Do you?
I do remember it, and I do remember saying to you, "Don't go in there with all guns blazing. Just be yourself, humble, family man," because genuinely I felt that's what they were looking for. And that's what the industry is all about.
Right. Well, let me
I
take you
really, felt that.
Let me take you right the way back, because I want to know how you. I want to know, first of all, your origins, how you came to be in fish and chips. But I want to know about your early life, family life. I want it all. So just
Okay.
give me the whole story, right the way up until when you win.
Okay. So,
Go for it.
like your father, he came to England, I don't know, early 50s, mid 50s, late 50s. My dad came to the UK in Coventry in 1954. Like all the Greek Cypriot immigrants in those days, we were part of the British colony, as you know. And I still, to this day, don't know how they all got into fish and chips, but they just got into fish and chips because food is a passion with Cypriots.
And the cash is also a passion with Cypriots.
And cash, absolutely. And hard work. Because in those days, my dad would tell me that he would stay open until 2 o'clock in the morning because of the pub trade. And there was no other takeaways, Mark. It was fish and chips. There was no Chinese, Indians, Mexicans, pizza places, burgers. It was just good old-fashioned, good solid food, fish and chips. So
and no VAT then as well.
No VAT. You know, nobody was checking anybody in those days. But so he came to Coventry, and it's funny. He stayed in a HMO, a house of multiple occupancy, which is what part of my business is now. So, and then he worked 2 shifts at Courtaulds in Coventry, the cotton factory, and he saved enough money to buy his first fish and chip shop. And that's where it all started. I was born in 1964 in Coventry, so I'm 60 years old. My birthday was a couple of weeks ago. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Dad, to his to be fair, he never spoke fantastic English, but he had a way with him, and he ended up with 5 fish and chip shops in Coventry. 5.
Wow.
And and he did very well. And he retired in 1969. He went back to Cyprus in 1969. Okay. And I went there as well. I was a 5-year-old little boy. I went to school in Cyprus for 4 years. But unfortunately, in 1975, when the war started, the invasion, we left and we came to the UK just for a year. But after that, we went to New Zealand. And we had a fish and chip shop in New Zealand as well. And a very, very popular one in Auckland. But my dad, he didn't like Auckland. He didn't like New Zealand. He wanted to come to Coventry. I mean, yeah, you know, Auckland, Coventry, which one do you choose? He chose Coventry.
It's a tough choice.
Yeah, tough choice. And we came back to the Midlands in 1980, and he moved to Rugby and bought Brownsover. I was at school at the time. I wasn't a bad student. He always wanted me to go to university. But you know, you just said earlier on, and there was money in shops and cash. I saw what was going on in fish and chip shops in those days. And at the age of 17, I packed in my A-levels and I joined working with my dad at Brownsover, which was then just a single shop. It wasn't a double shop. And we worked together. I had the best teacher I could ever wish.
Yeah,
he was very good at what he did.
What range were you frying on, out of curiosity?
Henry Nuttall.
Okay.
I've always been a Henry Nuttall man.
And you won on a Henry Nuttall, didn't you?
I won on a Henry Nuttall, which I don't think anybody else did before.
No. Well, the thing is with a conventional range like that is that every single piece of fish is like a little Mona Lisa. It would have been hard for you to take any time off and the product still be as good as when you're cooking it or when your dad's cooking it. So I guess working with your dad meant that the quality was there when you weren't there and vice versa.
Absolutely. because you just said it. You're absolutely right with the Henry Nuttall and the new Rangers that came into being. The new Rangers, they were easy to work.
Yeah.
You didn't need a brain sometime. To be fair, am I saying the right things here?
Yes, that's why I said wow when he had 5 shops and there was only...
And that's what the new range manufacturers wanted, and rightly so. Whereas with the Henry Nuttall, you had to control the temperatures, the oils, everything. It was just, it was
You had to know how to fry.
You need, yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, and like I said, he was very good. My dad was very good, and I guess so was your dad. Your dad was in fish and chips, wasn't he?
He was a Preston and Thomas man. I learned on a Preston and Thomas. So I consider myself to be a master fryer because I learned how, I used to light with a wax taper and lose my eyebrows.
Yeah. Well,
and you
right.
switch the pan on, you switch the pan off using your knee.
Yeah. Excellent.
I'm old. I've got that old school frying skills before I learned how to do it, with modern pan technology. So, yeah. So a man that can run 5 shops is, I had 6 when I was at my busiest, but they all had high efficiency pans, and I could run them from a golf course. Yeah. So I understand totally what an amazing man he must have been.
Yeah. To be fair, he had 3 all at the same time. He went through 6 shops in Coventry, but he had 3 all at the same time, and the other 2 obviously he had sold when the maximum he had was 3. But even then, it's hard work. And all the family comes from Cyprus, don't they? You bring everybody, your brothers, your sisters, to help out in the family business, and that's what predominantly it was. It was a family business, and it still is, if you ask me. But
yeah, so but it is, and I probably the best memories I've got are the times I worked with my dad. Probably the best memories I've got of my dad. So,
and because you worked with your dad, there were certain expectations, wasn't there, Mark? You had to be better than him, otherwise you would have never been able to prove yourself to him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And that's the same with me. I remember I met my wife, Yasmin, in the fish and chip shop in 1984. We got married in 1991, and my dad said, right, you're married now, here's the keys to the shop. He said, I'm off to Cyprus, I'm retiring. Take care of the shop. Do me do a favour, he says, 2 favours. Make sure you pay your VAT, number 1. And number 2, don't go out and buy a nice brand new car and park it outside the chip shop, please. He says, buy an old car at all times. Do not buy a brand new Merc like a lot of other Cypriots do. Park them outside the chip shop. You don't need to rub it in anybody's face so that you're making money.
I heard a story because I knew I was going to do this podcast. I had a conversation with a mutual friend who owns a podcast series that we might be on right now. And he told me about a very famous, was it a Citroen Berlingo you had? It was a small white, and you had that, your customers only ever saw you driving that. You are, I know you personally as a friend, and I know you do not wear your wealth. Whatever you've got, you've always been so humble, so modest. But I didn't realise it was your dad that told you. But you only, I think you've put a lot of miles on that van, and it's the only vehicle your customers. They used to tease you about it, didn't they?
It was a Renault Kangoo, which is like a Berlingo.
It's the same van. Yeah, he was unsure.
And I put about 250,000 miles on it, about 220, I think. I even wrote a poem when it left me, and put it on Facebook because there was a lot of interest in that car going. And I bought a new one, a 6-year-old Renault Kangoo again. Only this time it's black.
Stelios has got about 250,000 miles on his Fiesta van. So your influence reaches far and wide, you know.
But that's why Stelio again is somebody that I speak to Stelio. I wouldn't say regularly, but Stelio is one of these guys that he will ring me and I will ring him, and we might be talking about an hour.
Yeah,
because there's a
every
lot
one of those could.
Yeah,
every one of those could be a podcast.
Yeah, and there's a lot in Stelio that I see in me as well. Hardworking, humble, straight. And there is. He's one of the few guys in the that part of the industry where I really got to know and like. Not that there's anything wrong with anybody else, but he was always a little bit different.
Yeah,
and I think he is different.
Well, I can't say too much. He's going to edit this bit out. I'm sure.
Well, absolutely, yeah. And that's how I evolved, and that's how I got into fish and chips. Obviously, it's a family thing. It'd be like you. I'm sure your dad would have said, "You're on your own now, son." And I remember Dad left in '92, and he says, "I'm not going to come back." He says, because he had a fear of flying. So you make sure what I'd said to you do. And I had to prove myself to him that I was as good as him,
So
and he never
VAT,
did have to come back.
VAT was like 17.5% the year you won.
Yeah.
Probably lower when he went away, but paying the VAT is important. Tell me how the decision-making process to enter the competition. When did the competition first appear on your radar? And I take it you'd successfully been building Brownsover, making it better and better.
Yeah.
You got into a second site next door and doubled its size.
That's right. Yeah.
And
in those days, Dad left. Like I said, I took over the shop. It was a single shop. I knew it was a tired-looking shop, and when you're almost scared of people coming near you and opening fish and chip shops. You're aware of that. Every time a property would come on that particular parade up for sale, I would buy just to protect the little old Brownsover fish shop that I had. And one of the shops that I did buy was the one next door. And then in 2000, we did a major refit. We joined the two shops together. And then the Brownsover chip shop became what it became. But I always used to pick up the magazines, your Fish Fries magazines, and I always used to see the winners of the past, and I always used to be in awe of them. I used to think, wow, imagine just being top of the game.
Yeah.
And I remember the first one was Muswell Hill, wasn't it, in London?
Toffs, yeah.
In Toffs. And he was Greek Cypriot as well, but they had restaurants and they were on High Street. And then another Greek Cypriot who won it which wasn't too far away from us, was Reed Square in Birmingham.
Okay, I didn't know either of those were Greek. For me, you were the first.
Yeah, they were Greek Cypriots, but they had restaurants and they were on high streets. Okay. But when we did the shop out, and I felt that we had a really good shop, I always wanted to do the competition. And I had Yasmin with me who kept on pushing me as well. And I'm going to mention... and Michael Dezerki from Shire Foods.
Great guy. I know him very well. Not as well as you, but obviously we have mutual friends, Kevin Neary.
Yeah. And he designed the shop for me, and he helped me a lot. And he always used to say to me, you're good enough. You are good enough to go for the competition. And he helped me a lot. And I'm forever thankful. I don't know whether he will ever hear this podcast, but I will be forever thankful to Michael for helping me out. So we did the shop out, and I remember I wanted to be a little bit different. And
I've only been to your shop actually just the once, but it blew me away. And what amazed me was not the front of house, but the back of house, because the way you got it set up, it was almost like the front of house was like a stage where you came out and performed, but out the back you had the luxury of space. The prep area was just so impressive, and it was clearly so well thought out that again it had a massive influence on how I laid my shops out going forward. Never seen anything like it before.
It was,
but that's because you had the space.
I had the space, and you're absolutely right. I think the prep area is as important as the front, and I played on that because we made the finals in 2001, and we hadn't won. We did very well. It was hard work getting to the final, even then in 2001, and. I remember at the finals, the shop that won it that year was All Ports in Wales.
Yes.
The previous winner to that was Les Manning in Crewe.
I was in the final that year and lost to Les.
Were you?
That was the first year I entered.
I didn't know that. So he came to the table after the announcement and he said to me, "Are you Andy from Brownsover Fish Bar?" I said to him, "Yeah." He goes, he said, "Do it again." I said to him, "No." Mark, that particular day, I was broken. I says, "No, I'm not. It's too much." He goes to me, No. He says, "Do it again. You were close." And I thought, I'm going to have to do it again. I'm going to have to do it again.
Nice man, Liz. He's a nice man.
He's a lovely man. And because I never went very prepared. I just said, I'm going to go and speak from my heart, Yasmin. I'm not a very good orator. I'm not very good at speaking. And it was okay, but it was nothing special, my presentation. So the following year, we did it again. But do you remember the big screen that I had at the front of the shop?
Yeah.
It was just when plasma screens were starting to come out. And I put a big, massive plasma screen. And I put a camera in the back. And the camera would relay the preparation area to the customers who were waiting. And I thought that was quite cool for the time.
Very theatrical, but also it shows how honest and what a good operator you are. It gives people confidence.
I remember there was quite a bit of in the media with shops and their kitchens not being very good at the time and dirty and so on and so on. So I thought, how do you beat this? So I thought, have a camera, show a live commentary of whatever's going on in the back, and I'm sure the customer will appreciate it. And then that evolved as well. We did little shows from McVinnie's sausages from Ireland, how their sausages was produced. I thought I had facts and figures about fish and chips, little news items, and it was really, really good. That was the only thing that I did different from 2001. And then we did the 2002. And we ended up in the semi-final with Mark Petrou from Chatteris.
I don't remember that.
Yes, you do.
I remember it. It was. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for you. That's for sure. And
well, you see,
it took me 4 more years to be ready. And the thing about this competition, it finds the cream does rise to the top, doesn't it? When it's not your time, there's normally a reason. And when I came up against you, I was probably too self-assured. I thought, I've got this because I'd made the final the year before, so I thought this is in the bag. And obviously you were better and more deserving. But no, I do remember it. I'm just joking. I do remember.
Well, I remember Howard rang me up and he said, "You're in the final again and you're up against Mark Petrou from Chatteris." And I thought, no chance. I've got no chance. I knew that 2 years previously you had been already in the final. And I thought, this guy's, I've got no chance. But the gods must have smiled on me, and we went through. And
this is Howard Thomas.
Howard Thomas. Yeah.
Again,
because there was 2 Howards involved, wasn't? Yeah. Sorry.
He's no longer at Seafish, but lots of white hair and a beard.
Yes. And then there was another Howard that worked at Seafish. He's no longer there. I can't remember his second name. Nicky would remember it.
Howard Dodd. Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
But and I thought, nah, no chance against the Petrou brothers. But yeah, and then we went on to win it, and it was an amazing day. Yasmin played her part. I always think a good looking wife always plays the part, Mark.
Well, I think every fish frying couple are good looking, the men and the women. So there are no. I think that's part of the appeal, isn't it? We have to represent the whole industry. So they don't let ugly ones through. Surely we can joke about that.
Yeah. And I remember Brownsover Fish Bar's name being shouted at, and I looked at Yasmin. Yasmin looked at me, and I just couldn't believe it. Honestly, it was an amazing day.
What did it do for your business? What did it do?
There wasn't.
What happened?
You see, the thing that was a surprise at Brownsover Fish Bar winning was, we said this before, it was the first shop that was on an estate.
Yeah.
And the first shop that didn't have a restaurant next to it.
Yeah.
It was just purely
takeaway.
Fish and chips, takeaway.
Yeah.
And the business, although we already had a really large market of Rugby town, it actually went up by 20-25% in the next few weeks. And then it just plateaued at about 10 to 12%.
Because you had Kerry Katona as well, didn't you? On the day.
Sorry?
You had Kerry Katona give you the award on the day.
That's right. Kerry Katona gave us the award on the day.
That obviously the photographs and the marketing and stuff. We're talking about a time that was 4 years before Facebook was created. We're talking about a time that's pre-social media. So the exposure that you got would have been television, newspapers, local radio.
Yes.
And it wouldn't have been as long or as far-reaching as what's happening now. But how did you cash in on that and make the most of it? Did Seafish obviously would have helped you at the time? Did you do any TV or anything like that?
They assigned a PR team with you, don't they? And I remember Yasmin stayed back in London and she did CCTV, the children's program, the following morning. I came back to the shop and Midlands TV came at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and they wanted to film me frying fish and chips at 8 o'clock in the morning because that's what time they wanted it. Obviously, we did Ready Steady Cook with Ainsley Harriott.
Brilliant.
That was really good. And the one PR thing that did work immensely, and I never thought it would, was the Japan trips.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know were you the first to go to Tokyo?
No, I wasn't. I think I was the third. The Japanese company had a bad experience with one of the teams that went before me, and I remember they sent their representative from Edinburgh down to Rugby to see me, to see the shop and to meet me and my wife, just to okay us going there, which we did. And it was a success for them. So for the next 17 years,
wow,
we were getting 17 years until just before COVID. 2018, I think, was the last year. 2019, they kept on sending us invitations to go over and do pop-up fish and chips in their English garden, and it was fantastic. I always looked forward to it immensely.
Great. What? Just the cultural experience, or just the fact that you're cooking it in a different environment, and just the whole thing. The cultural experience, being with a group of English, because it wasn't just me. There was about 10 or 12 of us, all in different sectors of arts and crafts and food. We would have a pasty maker come with us, and we would have an artist come with us, and it was just
it was a really nice get together with a group of people in a hotel up in the mountains, because that's where the British Garden was, in the mountains, and you would mix with them. Really nice people, a lot of people with the garden industry, which I will talk about later. And I made a lot of friends that way. And it was a very enjoyable experience. And I took members of my family, Yasmin, my son went, all sorts of people, because I was allowed to take one more person with me.
Okay.
But Japan is a place that is dear in my heart.
Well, you know, and they still celebrate fish and chips over there. You know,
massively.
The same way we've
yeah,
got,
I know Callum Richardson still goes to
yes.
one of the big department stores, which I did once, and
the Millers as well.
Yeah, he goes.
David and Nick Miller go as well, which is
do they?
And I think one year David and Nick sent some of their staff instead to gift them this amazing experience.
Nice.
And also because they had the trust in their staff that they would do the job well, which I think is that tells you so much about David and Nick anyway. Yeah. And the Millers as a family, they're just the most lovely people. But to send their staff rather than, you know, that's something they chose to do. I think. If I was invited to go, I'd go. I like my staff, but I'd love to experience it for myself. Yeah. But you know, sadly,
I was a little bit selfish. I did take people with me, you know, but I made sure that I was there every year.
let's just say you like to have control to know that you're doing the job right.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think the word control is actually really important.
Yeah.
And I sold the shop simply because I knew that I couldn't rent, or I couldn't let managers do it, because I wouldn't be there and I wouldn't be in control.
Yeah. So,
and a lot of people still say to me, "Why did you sell up in 2016?" I mean, we're jumping the gun a little bit now. We're going from 2002 to 2016, but you know, between 2002 and 2016, Brownsover Fish Shop became very successful, very busy for an estate shop.
But you raised a family. You raised a family as well, and without your father there, you must have really put some time and effort into training your workforce to think and to care and to fry as if you were standing there yourself. And that's so much harder to do with a traditional frying range. Henry Nuttall, perfectly good range, very reliable. But you've got to know how to get the best out of any frying range. You've got to know it very well. And there are some that are easier to use if you're the operator, and there are some that are easier to use if you want to trust your staff with it. So I think with a Henry Nuttall, you must have known it almost as well as you knew your wife to be able to produce consistently good fish and chips with it.
I knew the Henry Nuttall range better than what I know my wife.
I thought I'd let you say that.
I had a lot of good staff. One of the ladies that I had there was a lady called Hazel Tim. She was with us for 35 years. She was the one that would take over the shop when I wasn't there.
Yeah,
that's just a very good example. And there was another gentleman called Kippy. He was as good as a fryer as what I was, but they both were. But again, I don't know. It was this thing that my dad instilled in me, perhaps, that I should always be hands-on and just don't let go. I'm not saying it's the best of things. If you want to grow.
Yeah.
But
were you ever tempted to have more than one Brownsover?
Yeah, I did in the beginning. And to be fair, I did buy a couple more shops, and I still have a couple of shops now in partnership, but which I don't run, obviously. No, I was happy with. I knew what I wanted to do in life. I knew that the shop was strong enough. I knew you said something earlier about family man. I knew that I wanted my kids to be educated the way they were educated. And I wanted to be in that shop until they both became financially independent. And in
You didn't want
2016,
them to do fish and chips?
no, I didn't want them to do fish and chips. I'll come to the reasons why I didn't want them to go to fish and chips. Not because I don't think it's a great industry. It's the best industry, Mark. I love the industry, and I do miss it. I miss the talking over the counter with my customers. I miss the phone call in the morning from my fishman or the potato man. But I also knew that things were going to change. And it wasn't me who realized that, but it was my late brother who made me realize that things were going to change in the industry. I saw a saturation in the market with fast foods. And when my brother lived in New Zealand and he came to work with me for 6.5, 7 years, he said to me, get out of the industry pretty soon because I can see things going on here that have gone on in New Zealand, i.e. empty shops being given A3 licenses really easy or A5 licenses because no council ever wants to have any empty shops not earning any rates. And he says, the money walks and the rest of it. Yeah, money talks and the rest of it walks, as we say. And he says to me, and I can tell you now, he says, there's going to be so many fast food joints opening left, right, and centre. And that pie is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. The piece of pie that you've got now is going to get smaller. Doesn't matter how good you are. And I always remember that. And then in 2016, once my kids became financially independent, they finished their universities, they got their jobs, and my daughter got married in 2016. And that was the right time to sell. And I'm happy to say it's been proven that 2016, 2017, and 2018 were probably the best times to sell fish and chip shops.
Yeah, I mean,
would you agree with me? You're in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I started selling my shops at the same time. 2008 for me was particularly tough with the credit crunch.
Yeah.
When the banks got into trouble and then made their customers pay for that, and at the same time I had pubs and the smoking ban and that. I got through that, and from 2015 onwards, my brother started to have health issues. I had 1 or 2 health issues, and we started selling our fish and chip shops. I've still got one, and I'm still just as passionate about it. It's the one that my dad and I worked in. We started there, and I've been there 37 years, and I still do a couple of days a week there. But it's about balance, isn't it? And having that time with your family and watching them grow. And did one of your children? I remember was at Cambridge University, and you actually came to one of my shops. I wasn't there.
We went to Cambridge for an interview with Costas. He ended up at London School of Economics in the end.
Okay.
He was on the list to go to Cambridge, but when the London School of Economics offer came in, we said that might be better for him, and so he went to LSE. And yes, I did try to come to one of your shops, and I think you weren't there. That's right.
But it didn't make it happen.
I walked in and I said, I remember you had a big mural on the wall. Am I right?
That's right, yeah. I used a company called Printed Space, and I printed a beach on the floor.
That's right.
A mixture of Blackpool and Brighton, and I printed that on the walls as well. So, and then I had bifold windows. So when you came into the shop, it was like you were going into a city centre location, but going to the seaside.
Yeah.
And we used reclaimed woods, and we made it very beachy. And then I hid my logo in as many places as I could. If you looked in a porthole on one of the boats, there I was,
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed doing that shop. It was opposite a Primark, and I think we counted 70 people a minute walking past it. We didn't even sell pies. It was just like fish or chips. And that was it. You know, it was a great shop. Sorry, I didn't get to see you there. It would have been.
That's all right. I guess you've sold that shop now.
I've sold it, and it remained a fish and chip shop for quite a few years, but it's not a fish and chip shop anymore. It's gone now. So
that tells you the way things have gone.
All you need to know, that could have been me. And that's
why I said, and that's why I think what I call our fish and chips was probably the right time, and I'm glad that you agree with me and that you've done it as well. Yeah, Having said that, I don't want people who are listening to this podcast saying, "Oh, yeah, here we go, he's got it all right." No, there are shops out there which are still fantastic businesses. It's just a lot tougher to run.
It's a different market because you've got social media now. You've got online ordering platforms, and you getting out before all of that. It's not a bad thing, you know. It's a struggle, and you know there are always going to be challenges in this industry that we, as an industry, will find our way through. I've got to clear up one thing because when I came to your shop, it was after you'd handed the trophy back. But yet the trophy was still in there in your shop. Now, I understand you had an identical replica of that trophy made, didn't you?
That's right. I did. I sent it to a company in London, I think it was. Cost quite a bit. I think it was in those days about £180. And I said to them, I want a replica of it, please, so I can keep it in the shop. And they did it for me, Mark. Ta-da!
How do I know you gave the other one back and that's not the original?
I did.
That looks like my trophy.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Yeah, and I've kept this. Obviously, it's in my little office. I look at it to remind me of how great I was one day.
Just for the benefit of the listener, if we have a listener, and Andrew has just held up the trophy that you have made, and it is an identical replica. The same font, the same markings. So if they ever lost the trophy for a reasonable fee, would you give that one up now?
Well, absolutely. I would. I would. But I'm sure that every winner would have done this. Did you not do it?
No, because I didn't know that I was able to. But when I saw it in your shop, I think at the time I said to you, you know, how have you still got that? And you told me that you'd had one made.
Yeah.
I think it's inspired to be able to display that.
Because you won it in 2000. But you won in 2004, 2006.
No, 2006. Yeah,
2006.
Yeah,
so we had
year after Nigel.
Yeah. I sat in that committee where Nigel did. Nigel Hodgson, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So it was our place before Nigel, and Finnegan's after you. So it was Finnegan's, our place, Hodgson's, then me.
Yeah. I enjoyed those years were great years. Going to London, going to the finals, sitting in at the committee to see the presentations, counting the votes.
Yeah. How did being Greek? Was there extra pressure being a Greek Cypriot? Did you find your own community, your own people embraced you as their champion?
Not really, to be fair. Yeah, I know why you're laughing, because I got a few phone calls from a lot of people who said, well done. But no.
It was a similar experience for me.
Was it a similar experience for you? Yeah. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because you know, we were always in those days scared of somebody coming next to you.
Yeah.
Always. And if somebody has just won the Chip Shop of the Year and he came and he was unethical enough to come next to you, because I think there's a certain ethics that we need to realize that there's got to be ethics in this business.
Yeah.
It's a small community, Mark,
Yeah.
and there should be an ethic where it says, look, don't come near me within 2 or 3 or 4 miles, please, because you will be taking away my business. Now, the other side of the coin is, well, business is business. Yeah.
I've had it happen to me many, many times.
There you go. There you go. And I was never going to do that. I was never going to say, right, guys, I've won the chip shop of the year, every empty shop now. I'm going to stick an A3 license and watch out. No.
It's a different world now.
Yeah.
Everything is fair game now.
That's right. In those days, though, it wasn't, was it?
No, not at all. So, what did you do after you sold up? Because
well, I sold up, but prior to selling up, I bought a couple of properties which I turned into houses of multiple occupancies, and then I bought another property which I turned into flats, and I started dwelling into the property side of things and became a landlord.
You know,
As you do.
we have a similar journey in that.
I know. But you've done bigger things from what I understand, and well done you. I've kept it just to properties. I've got some commercial properties as well that we had in the past, and we rent out and things like that. So yeah, I've become a little bit of a landlord, let's say.
Yeah.
And then
passive income.
Passive income, yeah. And then 3 years ago, and this is where I'm going to start talking about some of the people that I met in Japan who were involved in the gardening world and in gardens. We opened up a little nursery where we live.
Brilliant.
And every year we open from March until October. My wife is particularly good at doing hanging baskets. And we used to get people calling at the house every time she would put out a hanging basket and say, do you do hanging baskets? Would you do us some hanging baskets? And we said, no, we don't, because there was a garden centre no more than 300 yards from where we lived. And then they went for development. They sold out. And that's when I saw my opportunity to just get something going in the house near where I live, in the land next to it. And we just put a few greenhouses, and we started planting, and we started doing garden stuff and hanging baskets, and it's very enjoyable and very pleasurable, and I enjoy it every year now. And that's another little thing that I like to do. And the people that I had met in Japan, like one of the biggest rose growers in the UK, I got in touch with, and I said, hey, send me 100 roses. And they would. And then the pot maker from Witchford Pottery, who I became very good friends, I would say, hey, send me a selection of your pots. And he would. And then it just grew. And I do enjoy doing what I do. And after I finish with you, I will put my dirty clothes on. I will go into my greenhouse, and I'm going to start planting my little vegetable seeds. And
so
you can't beat it. I know I'm only 60 years old, and you might think, oh, this is something for old people to do. But Mark, trust me, I love it.
I get it. I have a bit of land too. I'm lucky enough to have a family that are into horses. So in my back garden, I've got 12 horses. I've got 2 goats. I've got some raised beds, and we grow carrots, we grow tomatoes, we grow cucumbers, we grow... but we only do it for ourselves, like the good life. But yeah. I understand that the pleasure and the self-fulfillment you get from growing your own produce and harvesting them and trying to outfox the rabbits to stop them getting in.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
And, you know, and the amount of wildlife as well that that we get to see every day.
Yeah.
I mean, even the walnuts, and we have 3 big walnut trees, and we harvest one and we leave 2 for the squirrels. And we pick a tree and we get all the walnuts out of that one. But no, it's when you reach a certain point in your life, money becomes less important and time becomes the real commodity. We all know how much money we've got or haven't got, and none of us know how much time we've got. And if you spend the time doing something that you enjoy and it throws off money, what can be better?
Yeah. And the how much time we have is become more and more important to me since losing my brother 4 weeks ago, and it just puts everything into perspective, and you start thinking, do I really want to? I mean, I'll give you an example today. We were meant to do this at 3:00, weren't we, Mark? Yeah. And I sent you a message about 2ish, and I says, guys, we need to do this at 4. And I was at one of the properties that is a HMO, and I was trying to install a camera system, which I have now, simply because my tenants are missing. My tenants were moaning that some knife and forks keep going missing. And I'm thinking, really, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to worry about knife and forks going missing?
Yeah.
And do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm just giving you an example, and that's why I think to myself, I can't wait to go home. I'll do my little podcast with Mark, and then I'll just jump in and go into and start seeding my chili plants, because that's what I'm going to do today later on.
I'm finding I'm becoming more of a grumpy old man than before, but it's really revolves around time.
Yes.
I can waste a bit of money. I don't like to waste money. I wake up in the middle of the night to see if I've lost any sleep. But if people waste my time, that starts to affect me more.
And I'm also going to be a grandfather in hopefully less than 10 days. My daughter's expecting her first grandchild.
And your first grandchild.
And that's important.
That's amazing.
I want to spend.
Congratulations. That's brilliant.
Thank you. I want to be able to. I want to be able to spend enough time. I don't want to go through. My kids, my daughter and my son, they grew up with their mum rather than with me. I wasn't that
sacrifice you made.
Yeah, that's the sacrifice you made. I don't know. You might even feel the same with your daughters, that you might not spend.
It was different with my daughters, but it was the same with my dad. I didn't see my dad. My dad was a stranger who was asleep on the sofa on Sundays until I started working with him.
Yeah.
And then when I started working with him, I got to know him. And then later on in life, I really got to know him. Towards the final pages of his book, I got to know him extremely well, and that was a gift to me, because when he finally passed away, there was nothing left to say. It had already been said. So, and I'll always be grateful for that.
Yeah.
But at the time you have to play to your strengths, and I think we're talking about a time when it was more normal, more accepted that the man would go out to work and the woman would stay home and do the lion's share of the parenting. But fast forward to now, if people say to me, "Are you babysitting your own kids?" I'm never babysitting. I'm parenting. Yeah. You don't babysit your own kids; you parent them. And I get. We are living in different times, but at the time, I would imagine you missed out on an awful lot. And some dads don't like to miss out on that. Some dads like to run away from it.
Yeah, no. And I'm going to do the grandparenting as much as I can. Yeah, and I am going
to regain that, to re-experience.
I think it's important.
and you can give them back when you've had enough as well.
Absolutely, and so that's another chapter in our lives, which is I'm hoping it will open soon, and it will be a bright, happy chapter, and that's all you can wish for. But life in general has been good. I think I always enjoyed myself in the shops, and I always had a really good rapport with my customers. Even now, when I walk in Rugby, they'll stop me, and so many. They'll hug me. They'll say, "Andy, nice to see you again," especially little old ladies.
Yeah,
and I get a certain satisfaction with that.
There's a term that somebody used on me the other day. It's granny magnet. You're a granny magnet.
Which brings me to a little story that when we went to do Ready Steady Cook, and Yasmin had a chef, I had my chef, and she had Worrell Thompson, and I had God, I can't remember his name now. Anyway, to be fair, I think Yasmin's food, the final display that they had, was probably better than the display that I had. But when you go to do a show like Ready Steady Cook in the daytime, it's usually 90% WI women who are there. So, when the green peppers came up, they outnumbered the red tomato by about 4-1. And
so you got the vote?
Yeah. So, and then at the end of the show, Yasmin came up to me, she says to me, "It's only because it was old ladies there voting that you had one. It wasn't because you were any better than me." And I think she probably had a very good point. Yeah.
She was not a good loser then.
No, she never. She never was a good loser. When we did the first competition and we didn't win, she was upset. She was very upset, and she kept on saying, "But we are good." And I said, "I know." I says, "We are good." I says, "But there was another 7 shops there which are equally as good. You can't monopolise the word good, because they're all there." I says, "They deserve
to be there.
They deserve to be there." And I explained that to her in the second year that we went. I says, "Look, everybody's good, or they wouldn't be here. So don't expect too much." But we were a bit more prepared the second year, and so history, as they say, he was good to us.
What advice?
It's a great feeling, isn't it, Mr. Petrou?
It is, it's nice. It's nice to be able to relive it in many ways, because they remind you of the best times in your career. For me, winning fish and chips shop of the year was a massive accolade. I actually preferred the outstanding achievement I got 7 years later for inventing Chippy Chat. Because I did it before social media was a thing, and I created something that's gone on to be a great tool for knowledge sharing. So, but at the time, being able to give that award to my family, to my dad was in the room. It was a very powerful thing, very emotional thing to actually do. And I suppose you being a family man, being able to say to your dad, I've won Fish and Chip Shop of the Year.
Yeah.
Must have been a very proud moment for you, a very proud moment for him.
He could never say after that he was better than me. And that was important. But you know what? He actually was.
Yeah.
He actually was. I remember your Superman T-shirt, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? Are you wearing? Oh my God, you are wearing it now.
I still wear a Superman T-shirt every now and again,
but it's a bigger size, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Let's move on. So, what advice would you give somebody who was thinking about entering the awards, or anyone? Not even entering the awards, anyone coming into the trade as a new start who's got ideas to get to the top of this game, what advice would you give?
Keep it simple,
Big
stupid.
question, that.
Keep it
Sorry?
simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Which is the AA motto.
Okay.
Just keep it simple. You have to be passionate. What I mean by that is, you see people coming into this industry now, and they do all sorts of things, don't they, in their shops? I still see every now and again they'll do the burgers, the kebabs, and the sort of fried chicken in some shops, which I did because I had to. I was on an estate, but really, if you're passionate about fish and chips, you should just keep it to good quality fish and chips and everything that surrounds a good quality fish and chips. You need to work hard. You need to be different from your competitor. You need to be on top of your game. And I think I've never don't cut corners. There's a lot of people out there that still cut corners. I've seen it with my own eyes. The product that they use is not the right product, but they know that they'll buy it cheaper. You know that, Mark, better than me. Not that you did it, because you didn't, but there are a lot of cowboys out there. And so if anybody wants to go into this industry, you have to be serious about it, passionate about it, and just keep it simple and do your best.
Okay. There must have been people along the way that have supported you, influenced you. Now's an opportunity, because I said before we started recording this that what we're leaving here is something for people to come back and refer to and listen to, and to understand the man that you are. And I really want to give you the opportunity to mention a few people, and to just talk about maybe the lessons that you learnt from other people along the way that really shaped you. The one about your dad with the car is great, but there must have been others. Other people must have told you stuff. I know that Mike Tzerky is more than just a friend. He was your best man when you got married, wasn't he?
No, I christened his. I christened his son.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah,
I know that the two of you go back.
Yeah, we go back quite a while. I mean, I've already mentioned my dad, and I've already mentioned my brother. I mentioned my wife because she was a big influence. I mean, she really did. She worked hard in the early days, and she did push me for the second year in the competition. She actually forfeited her hair as well. I don't know. Do you remember that, Mark?
No.
My wife doing the charity for the Fisherman's Mission, and she shaved all her beautiful hair off and raised about £4,500.
That's amazing. No, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
She looked ever so good with short hair. I keep telling her to do it now, but she won't. Had an amazing team of staff. I had an amazing team of staff, and they were very grateful. Michael Tzerky, I've mentioned it. My suppliers, I've got to thank my suppliers as well, because they never ever let me down.
What did you fry in? What was your frying medium?
It was Frymax.
You fried in Frymax.
Shall I tell you something about my frying media?
Yeah.
When my dad left, I thought I was going to be clever, Mark, and he always was a Frymax man.
Yeah.
And I after he left, I thought I'm going to use, I think it was gold.
Yeah.
CCF gold. It was a harder oil, and I thought, I'm going to get more life out of a harder oil, and so on and so on. And I used it for about a month, and I had 2 or 3 people coming to me and saying, we can taste the oil a bit more, it leaves a little film in your mouth there. And I mean, I don't want to. I'm not saying it's not a good oil. I don't even know whether it exists anymore. Does it exist anymore?
I don't know. If it does, it's been rebranded.
Yeah.
So you're not doing anyone dirty. Don't worry.
I'm not doing it. Yeah, I don't want to upset anybody. And I realised that was a mistake. So I went back to Frymax.
Yeah.
And I just stayed with Frymax for the next 30 years. Can I just say that I never threw 1 ounce of oil.
Yeah, well, if you're managing it right, there's no need to. And if you've got volume of sales as well, if you're shifting a lot of product.
Yeah, I never threw 1 ounce of oil, and I always had good clean oils and good tasting food. I like to think anyway. Sometimes I go to these shops now and I see barrels out in the back filled with really dark oils, and I'm thinking, why? I can't figure it out. You know, is it the new machines that they're using? Is it? You tell me. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, well,
I'm allowed to ask you a question. I'm allowed to ask you a question, aren't I?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, oil, fish and chips. There's 5 basic elements: flour, water, potatoes, fish, and oil. Every single one of those elements is unstable.
Yeah.
Fish loses weight in the fridge. Flour and water, they're not stable. When you mix them together, there's 2 things that keep them stable: time and temperature. And you can't stop time, but you can slow temperature down. But batter is always changing; it's never stable. So you need to understand how batter works. It's not a liquid; it's a solid suspended in a liquid with a gas beating into it. So once you understand how batter works, you can produce consistent product. It's the same with the oil. Potatoes, different. Every month they're different. They're a seasonal crop. If you're frying potatoes in, where are we now? End of March. They came out of the ground in September. They're different to what they were then. Yeah. You know, so the raw material, you need to understand every raw material to produce consistently good fish and chips. You know that. I know that. But if you've got a shop and an inexperienced operator, and he's got 3 pans, and he puts brand new oil in all 3 pans to start with, day one, he's got anemic fish and chips because his oil's too light. So if we say brand new oil is 1 and knackered oil is 10, you need to keep your oil in all your pans in that sweet spot, sort of 4 to 5.
Yeah,
and you do that by keeping your oil clean, by moving it from one pan to another, by topping it up with fresh. You manage your oil. And the reason you're seeing the oil at the back is because they start on a Monday and they just top them all up at the end of each night, and it gets darker and darker and darker. They don't manage it. They don't think about it.
Yeah.
And so the fish and chips that they sell on a Monday is completely different to what they sell on a Friday.
Yeah.
When you go into McDonald's, a Big Mac's a Big Mac. 3 bits of pickle, too much lettuce. You always lose lettuce on your lap. You've never burnt your mouth on a Big Mac, but a Big Mac is always a Big Mac. Wherever you go, it's always the same. The art of cooking fish and chips, every single piece of fish is a little Mona Lisa. You create it. That little bit of you goes into every single one, and every one of them has to be perfect. But if you're not managing your oil, it's going to be different. So you've got to really take care of your oil and have it at a 4 or a 5 every single day in every pan. And that means on a quiet day, you switch your pan off.
Yeah.
Because if you leave it on and it's not active, it's just going dark. You're just knackering it. So you have the right amount of pans on for the level of the trade. You clean your oil. You even the level of the oil. You don't top it up to the top till you get to the end of the week when you're going to be busy. You run your pans down. Yeah. And you manage, you keep them in that sweet space. And that's what you did for all those years. You managed that oil because you knew when to switch your pan off. If you've only got 3 bits of fish in a pan, you switch it off before it gets to the temperature because you know it's going to coast up. When you've got 10 bits of fish in the pan, you leave it on a little bit longer. But while you're actually perfecting the product that you're cooking, you're actually taking care of the oil at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's why when you go to a shop where people don't understand the raw material, you're seeing barrels of oil. And they're saying, "Oh, I'm throwing oil away. I don't know why." And you know that what I've just said is right. It's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you entirely. And that's why the Henry Nuttall range was, for me, a darling, because I was able to I controlled it so well.
Yeah. And that's why the latest ranges that are coming out with high efficiency pan technology, there's less temperature swing. They find their temperature quicker. There's less temperature drop. The recovery time's better. You can manage your oil so much better. But first of all, you need to understand the raw materials that you're working with. You need to understand how fish works, how potatoes work. Yeah. I think formal training, it wouldn't go anyone amiss. When somebody takes over a shop, they tend to buy all of the bad practices of the previous owner. They inherit, all of those bad practices as well. And you'll be told by the previous owner, "Oh, we do it this way, we do it that way." And you don't want to rock the boat. You want to keep doing what has already been done because that's been successful at that site. I get it. I'm not trying to put people down. That's not why I'm here. I'm trying to demonstrate to you, somebody that I respect very much, that I know what I'm talking about the same way that you do. Yeah,
you do. I know you do. That's why when they told me that I was up against you in 2002, I thought, not a chance.
You deserve to win. I've never had a problem with that result. Never had a problem. I had a problem in 2010 when 2008 when I'd already won it, and I came back again and made the last 10, and they told me you're not going to win it twice. I have a problem with that. But,
I always knew that. See, I always knew that, and I had a lot of people who said to me, "Why don't you just do it again and prove yourself again?" I said, because A, I don't need to, and B, I think there's no way they would allow the same shop to win it twice because they need to spread it.
Yeah. That might be different now.
Do you think it might be different now?
It might be, but it wasn't back then. They told me, you might have made the final 10 again because you're not allowed to enter the year after you've won. So I had a year off, and then I came back and I was straight back into the last 10 again. And they said to me, "You're not going to win it." And I was like, "Why am I even here?" I proved something to myself that year. But it's like saying to the current Premier League champion, "Don't enter next year." You can't do that. It should be fair game, but it is what it is. I'm grateful for what I've got, not for what I haven't.
Absolutely, but I do get their point of view as well because it is a very good PR and it needs to be spread around. It needs to go into different regions. I'm not saying that they should give it to their own shop just for that particular reason, because at the end of the day, you are an ambassador, and that ambassador thing needs to be spread. And that's the one thing that I do remember. I remember going into the interview after. I didn't even go back to the table, and I was interviewed by Radio 1 or Radio 2, BBC Radio 2. And it was when we had a lot of problems with the cod. Oh, no cod in the seas and this, that, and the other. Yeah. And I remember the guy who was interviewing says, "Well, congratulations, Andrew. We've just heard that you won the Chip Shop of the Year competition, blah, 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 blah. But what do you think about not being able to have any cod on our plate in the next few months?" And I thought, and I was told about that.
Yeah.
They gave you a little sheet of PR things that you should be very aware of.
Yeah.
After you win it, or even before you win it, the night before it was given to me in the hotel. Just read this so that you know how to answer questions. The media is so fast to catch on and to try and put a spanner in the works and trying and wiggle their way into admitting that something's not quite right with the industry in those days anyway. And I thought to myself, my God, there's pressure here, and you have to be an ambassador and you have to say the right things, because if you don't say the right things, you're letting a lot of people down. A lot of people.
When you win the award, you have to be a safe pair of hands for the industry. You have to make all the right noises. And as much as I wanted to win it twice, the most important thing is that the right person uses that platform and award to promote fish and chips. And, you know, every winner has taken on that job really well. And, you know, selfishly, I can be a little bit upset. But during my year, I didn't try and promote my own business. I tried to celebrate fish and chips and always put a positive spin on it. Every opportunity to say how wonderful fish and chips is what this competition's all about. It's not about... it's not about promoting your own business. It's about celebrating fish and chips for the industry, and you did an amazing job in your year.
Thank you, but I'll add something to that. I like to think I did a pretty good job in that year and maybe the year after. But then after that, I didn't purposely go quiet, but I wanted the new people who came in to take over and carry the mantle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I will take my hat off to 4 or 5 people who are genuinely more passionate than me, perhaps, and they carried on and they spread the word, and they still do in a very positive manner. I think you are definitely one of them, Mark. Definitely.
I appreciate that.
Definitely. The other person is Callum.
Yeah. He's a great ambassador, and he's won a lot of awards since as well. You know, he pushes the sustainability message, and now he's coaching people as well. So you know, he is knowledge sharing. I'm all about knowledge sharing.
Yes,
I celebrate fish and chips and try and promote it as much as I can. But you're right. Callum is very good about promoting fish and chips.
I haven't kept in touch with and haven't seen about is it Crispy's the Miller family, who I've heard. I have met him once, and he was, like you said, a very nice man.
Lovely man.
Nigel Hodgson is a lovely guy as well. I remember Nigel. Hilliard, the other chap from Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. Gordon, really nice. These are the people that I know. I don't know many of the other ones that won it, but I take my hat off to you for being passionate for so many years, whereas some people like myself, after a certain age, you start to slow down. Callum Richardson, and then the other people that I will say, and I will mention, and not because Stelio's involved in this podcast, but he's another one who's not in, who does a lot to promote fish and chips.
Yeah. Well, he recently won Supplier of the Year, and again,
that's right.
He won't be able to edit this out. But the reason why I think he's a worthy winner of this award, and the other 2 finalists are very, very worthy winners. But Stelios doesn't just give great service to his customers; he gives great service to everyone in the industry. Yeah. And I think that's what sets him apart, is that these podcasts, they aren't just for people that buy his products. They are an opportunity for people to listen to amazing people like you and learn something from them, and that is probably a really good point to wrap this thing up. I think it's a great place to end it.
I think you're absolutely right.
He's
thoroughly enjoyed it. Sorry?
He's a good boy, isn't he?
He is. No, he really, because here's a guy who started with just doing flour, I don't know, 15 years ago, perhaps 14 years ago.
2006-7.
Yeah.
2006.
And now he's done other things, and he's done well, and he's hard working. Sometimes I can hear he'll ring me at 9 o'clock at night, and he's still in the car driving back home. Yeah. And listen, I've mentioned him, like I said, not because of the podcast, because it's the truth. The same way that I've mentioned Callum Richardson, who I haven't seen for a number of years. He was, by the way, the young friar of the chip shop the year I won it.
Was he?
Yeah. I remember sitting with him at Peterborough at the Christmas
Chip Barons Ball,
and I thought to myself, this guy's different. He's different, and I've mentioned you as well, and I've mentioned the other ones that I know of, and I think they should all be very proud. You should all be very proud of what you do for the industry. Fish and chips will always be king. I don't care what anybody says, and
Andy,
do miss.
Thank you so much.
Miss frying fish and chips every now and again.
Well, you ever want a shift in mine? I would. you can come down and cook fish and chips at mine anytime you like. Give me a night off.
What do you pay per hour, Mark?
Not much, but I'll tell everybody that you're my younger brother.
As long as I can eat as much as I want, I'm happy to do that. Thank you on.
Thank
Been a pleasure.
so much. I could talk for longer, but I don't want to hold you back from being in your greenhouse.
No, listen. Hey, I'm easy. I mean, if you want to switch this off now and can still carry on talking to me afterwards, I ain't got a problem with that either, at all.
Well, let's. I'll switch it off, but don't go anywhere, listener. This has been Andy Thrasyvoulou, and an absolute joy for me. Till next time, take it easy.
Wonderful.